Have you ever asked God, why me? Why does it seem that every time you start to move forward, something pushes you back? Why do some people walk through life smiling while you carry a weight no one else can see? Maybe you're tired of praying, tired of waiting, tired of believing that tomorrow will be different. But what if this storm isn't here to destroy you? What if it's here to reveal who you really are? Because God never wastes pain. Not one tear, not one delay, not one lonely night. Every battle is building something you cannot see yet. The strongest trees don't grow in perfect weather. They grow after surviving countless storms. And maybe that's exactly what's happening to you. Today, you're looking at the storm. God is looking at the person you'll become because of it. So don't skip this message, because before this video ends, you may finally understand why God allowed this season and why your greatest blessing may be much closer than you think. Stay with me. This message could change the way you see every struggle in your life. Life teaches us something that comfort never can. We all want peace. We all pray for easier days. We ask God to remove the mountain, to stop the rain, to end the struggle. But sometimes God doesn't remove the mountain. He teaches you how to climb it, because the person waiting on the other side is stronger, kinder, wiser, closer to Him. Think about it. Gold becomes pure only after fire. Diamonds form only under pressure. Seeds grow only after being buried. Nothing truly valuable avoids the process. So why should we? Sometimes we mistake God's silence for His absence, but silence doesn't mean abandonment. A teacher is often silent during the test, not because the teacher left, but because it's time for the student to remember what they've already learned. Maybe God isn't silent because He's ignoring you. Maybe He's watching you become exactly who He created you to be. Every prayer changes you first before it changes your circumstances. That's why growth often feels painful, because you're leaving behind an older version of yourself, the version that depended only on feelings, the version that gave up too easily, the version that believed fear more than faith. God sees farther than we do. We see today. He sees tomorrow. We see one chapter. He sees the entire story. Imagine reading only one page of a book. The hero is suffering. Everything looks hopeless. Would you throw the book away? Of course not, because you know the story isn't finished. Yet, somehow, when it comes to our own lives, we assume one difficult chapter means the ending is bad. But God hasn't finished writing. Your current struggle is not your final sentence. It's only a paragraph. Sometimes the road gets darker before sunrise, not because morning isn't coming, but because dawn always follows the deepest night. Maybe today you're standing in that darkness. Don't mistake temporary darkness for permanent defeat. God has never lost control, not once. Every delay, every closed door, every unexpected disappointment can become part of a greater purpose that only makes sense later. Joseph couldn't understand why he was betrayed, why he was sold, why he was imprisoned. But years later, he discovered that every painful step was preparing him to save countless lives. If God had answered Joseph's prayers immediately, he would have missed his greater purpose. Sometimes, the blessing isn't delayed, it's being prepared. And so are you. Maybe you're wondering, when will it finally end? When will life become easier? When will I stop carrying this weight? Those are real questions. Questions many faithful people have asked. Even the strongest believers have gone through seasons where nothing made sense. But here's something powerful. God doesn't measure your life by how easy it is. He measures it by how faithfully you keep walking, even when you don't understand. Faith isn't believing after you see the miracle. Faith is believing before the miracle arrives. Anyone can trust when everything is going well, but trusting God in the middle of uncertainty, that changes you forever. Because every difficult season gives you a choice. Will fear become louder, or will your faith become stronger? Every day you make that choice, sometimes without even realizing it. Look back at the hardest season you've already survived. There was a time when you thought, I'll never make it. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still moving forward. Not because you're perfect, but because God carried you. Even when you couldn't feel Him, sometimes the footprints disappear. Not because God left, but because He was carrying you. You may not remember every prayer you prayed, but God does. You may forget every tear you cried, but God doesn't. Nothing is wasted. Not your waiting, not your disappointment, not even your failures. God has a way of turning broken pieces into beautiful stories. Think about a sculptor. When people watch, they only see a block of stone, but the artist already sees the masterpiece hidden inside. Every strike looks painful. Every chip looks like destruction, but it's actually creation. That's how God works. Sometimes life feels like pieces are falling away, dreams, plans, relationships, comfort. But maybe God isn't destroying your future. Maybe He's removing everything that doesn't belong in the masterpiece. Don't compare your timeline to someone else's. Some flowers bloom in weeks, some trees take years, but the tree that grows slowly often becomes the strongest. Social media can make you believe everyone else is winning, everyone else is blessed, everyone else is moving ahead. But remember, people post their victories, not always their battles. Never measure your journey against someone else's highlight reel. God wrote a different story for you. There will be days when nothing changes. You pray, the answer doesn't come. You work, the reward doesn't appear. You hope, the door stays closed. Keep going, because consistency is also worship. Showing up again, praying again, believing again, even when nothing seems different. Those are the moments that build unshakable character. One day, you'll look back and realize The season you wanted to escape was actually the season that transformed you. The pain taught compassion, the waiting built patience, the disappointment created wisdom, the loneliness deepened your relationship with God. Without that storm, you wouldn't become who you are today. So if today your heart feels tired, don't quit. Rest if you need to. Cry if you need to. Pray, even if it's only one sentence. God, I'm still trusting you. Sometimes that's enough. God isn't asking for perfect words. He's looking for a willing heart. Remember this, the chapter you're living now will not last forever. Morning always comes. Winter always ends. Rain eventually stops. The storm has an expiration date, but the strength, the wisdom, the faith you gain from it will stay with you for the rest of your life. Maybe years from now, someone will ask, "How did you stay strong?" And you'll smile, not because the journey was easy, but because God was faithful. Every single step, even the ones you couldn't understand. So today, lift your head, take one more step, say one more prayer, choose hope one more time, because God has not forgotten you. He is still working behind the scenes, preparing doors you cannot see, arranging people you haven't met, creating opportunities you never imagined. The story isn't over. In fact, some of the most beautiful pages may be right in front of you. If this message reminded you that God is still with you, type, "I trust God's timing" in the comments. Your words may encourage someone else who is fighting a silent battle today. And if you want more faith-filled messages that strengthen your heart during life's hardest seasons, subscribe to the channel and walk this journey with us. Remember, the storm you're fighting today is creating the person God already sees tomorrow. God bless you.